Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised.
3, 2, 1. Hello, Criminal Mischief Nation. Welcome back to another bonus episode of Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Branden. With me, as always, the great Carolyn Osorio joining us again. Like I say, we don't deserve her, but yet she shows up every week and puts up with my nonsense. Carolyn, thank you. How are you?
You're welcome.
And I know it is often utter nonsense, but we have fun, don't we?
You know what? It is a burden that I bear.
Oh, wow. I know.
We do have fun. We do have fun.
Believe me, I know.
How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right. Did you have a good week?
Oh my gosh. It was 60 degrees on Saturday.
Is that warm? You're saying that because it's warm?
That's warm. The sunshine.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Like I took my sons on a walk and we were like coming out like bears.
Yeah.
It literally felt like we were like the three bears.
Well, it's cold again in LA. I was in New York. It was like 5 degrees. I come back and it was like 85 degrees for a couple days in LA, which was really nice. Unseasonable, kind of shocking. Like you don't want it to be that warm so quick. But now it's back to like below kind of normal temps, like back in the 60s, the high 50s. So it's just been weird. But
so it's 60s now.
Yeah, but it's scary tonight because the Santa Anas are blowing and everyone now has such PTSD from the fires from January.
Oh my gosh.
It's weird. It's weird. Like that's why I associate all of my wife as this wind chimes fucking lunatic. We've got like a bunch of wind chimes in the backyard, right? And
We've got a good wind chime. We got one though, but it's massive.
Yeah, it's like a harbinger now. When the Santa Anas blow, and I'm like, uh-oh.
I'm not laughing because I think it's funny, but I know what you mean because we have wind chimes and they're like, I can imagine.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, but it's otherwise good week. Otherwise good week, busy week. Things are plugging along. Yeah. So I'm back east again in a week and a half, like just after St. Patty's. I go back again for a little while. So looking forward to that, and then keep at it. Excuse me. I caught another little thing, if you can hear it.
I was talking to you earlier and I said, Are you like, I'm like worried about you.
I think, like I said,
care of yourself.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think it's just a string of bad luck with how strong the cold and flu season is this year and my feral children, who knows what the hell they bring home from school, So I think it's that.
I told you about how the first time, this is like, out of 5 kids, this is the first time one of them has brought this home, but I didn't even want to say it because it just sounds awful, but it was like hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Yeah, like, don't be ashamed about that. Kids bring that home from school all the damn time.
I know, but it's just something that we've never, it's just like it's just the one thing that we have. It feels like we've had everything else. And it was like, he didn't realize that he had it and he was wrestling, for the school. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. Wrestling, I mean, how many kids?
You're going to have it. That's going to be called hand, foot, mouth, full body disease. Get it wrestling. Holy shit.
Believe me, this is the first kid that ever wrestled. So it was like
Does he like wrestling?
His friends were doing it, so he wanted to do it. Now, I had high school friends that were wrestlers. I think I maybe went to like 1 or 2 matches, but like it wasn't like anything I spent my time doing. But what's really cool now is that they have girls wrestling too.
Yep.
And my son was wrestling girls like multiple times, and I was so proud of him because it was like he treated the girl just like he would treat any other opponent.
Yeah, because she was trying to win too.
Absolutely, and that's but there was no coaching on my part. He just naturally did it.
You got it.
And anyway, it was just really cool to see because these girls were taking these boys down, and it was just really it didn't feel forced. It felt like just normal.
Yeah.
Like it's been going on for a long time, but it just felt like they're competitors and they were kicking butt, and it was awesome to see.
Yeah.
But it was really funny because after my son took this one girl down, she, put her heart and soul into it, but then all of a sudden she's laying down and she puts her hand up like that. She wanted him to,
Did he
help
help
her.
her up?
Of course.
All right, good, good.
No, he like
Fuck
what
off! You
gave her
stay
hand
down.
foot gave her hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're sick. Give that to your mom. Wow, wow, wow. All right. Well, good, good. Um, because where I'm from, wrestling is a religion. New Jersey, high school wrestling is like a holy order. It's a monastic kind of lifestyle for these wrestlers, and it's taken really, really, really seriously, and it's very
You
proud
know,
in the
I
state.
you know, I dated a guy who was a wrestler, and I remember that education of like the chew and then the jogging with like a million like the Rocky stuff going on, and
Yeah,
just
to
not
cut weight.
eating.
Yeah,
And so I kind of had, just kind of remember it, but I didn't really, I wasn't a part of that culture.
yeah.
But yeah, I believe it.
There's a great monologue by the comedic actor Jay Moore. I don't know if you remember Jay Moore.
Oh
Jay
yeah, I
Moore's
totally remember him.
all right. He's from
Yeah.
New Jersey. He grew up really close to where I grew up, and
Okay.
um, there was a movement to remove Greco-Roman wrestling as an Olympic sport. Right? People were like, ah, get rid of it, even though that's the like wrestling and running were the two original Olympic sports, right?
Why did they want to get rid of it?
Because they got to keep it fresh, and they add skateboarding and breakdancing, and maybe get rid of javelin and fucking wrestling, whatever, right?
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
so, so he made this impassioned monologue. I think it was on Stern, where he lets people know like how what wrestling is and how important it is to the athletes. And he gave all of these specifics, right? Where he says like, all you eat is chicken breast and spinach. That's it. You wake up 2 hours before everybody else and you run 5 miles before school. Okay. Then after school, you're on the mat for 2 hours. Then you come home and it's homework. And then you work out again. And then you're in bed by 7 o'clock. And it's all, he goes, and there's no going pro in wrestling, right?
Mhm.
When after high school, if you don't go to college, you're done. If you're able to go to college and wrestle, then after that, you're done, unless you can go to the Olympics. So it's something to shoot for. Now that is a little bit outdated because now a lot of high-end collegiate wrestlers go into MMA, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you've got the wrestling skills and you,
Yeah,
you can
yeah, yeah.
fucking choke people out and you just learn how to box and kick. And then because you already have the basic kind of skill set. But it was really, really interesting to hear Jay Moore talk about wrestling that way because you don't hear it very, very often. So um, you can find it online if you're so inclined.
Well,
Um,
speaking of wrestling, our Jose Nairi was a wrestler.
yeah.
I don't know if I put that in there. I
Oh,
think
you
I
did.
did.
You did.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Big Iranian sport. Huge. A lot of Iranian
Yes.
Olympic medalists in Greco-Roman wrestling. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so let's get right into it. Dipshittery might be one of my favorite words that I've heard in an episode of our podcast ever.
I know.
Um,
I
this
know.
guy's great. He's terrific. And uh, and so what's interesting about this is that the whole case basically hinged on a new witness coming forward, the girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, a reluctant witness.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean,
They had to trick her
oh
basically,
my
and
gosh.
then scare her. Yeah. But
This is the
so
thing I was talking about. Like I've talked about it now a couple of different times where I'm like, you sign something and you don't. Now, obviously, sh if you're innocent and you sign this, it's no problem. But she had been a part of this, so it was a problem. But like, she didn't see this coming a mile away, and she was studying to be an attorney.
yeah, she missed that. But some there was a thread that was left. To maybe I missed something, but was her car stolen?
Yes, I mean
Okay,
yeah,
so it was
they're
stolen, and the guy who stole it swam
no,
away
no, no,
into
no,
the
no, no. I'm
ocean.
sorry. I'm sorry. Her car was not stolen. It was Jose Nairi behind the wheel.
Okay, okay,
And then he didn't want to, he just bailed and then she reported it as being stolen.
but they didn't catch him in that
They
car
didn't catch him in the car. No,
because he
he
swam
he
off in the
swam
ocean.
off. he swam off in the ocean and got
Like to
away.
Spain? Like where
I,
did he fucking end up?
well, you live in California. It was off
Yeah.
of Balboa Island, so he just started going, and I don't know if he was dog paddling, but like he didn't want to get caught. I
Jesus.
mean, you can see by his, and I don't want to glorify him in any way, but like he clearly has, some unique skills, and if he would have put them to good, he
Yeah.
could have probably
Yeah. I
been.
I don't want to build him up either, but he's got a little bit of Bodie in him
Oh yeah, from Point
from
Break.
Point Break.
Absolutely.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Perfect reference.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sans the sexual mutilation, but like, yeah,
Yeah, and
burglary.
and the spirituality and kind of cool, right? Like
What are you doing? What are you
I
doing
want to
with your
hang out with
shoulder?
Bodhi. I want to hang out with Bodhi, right? And
Yeah.
but
Well, and I
so
think that
yeah.
Jose Nairi, he gave that vibe that he could attract people to him because he kept getting these trios. First it was he's
Yeah.
very charming and it was when he was on, and I don't want to get ahead of it, but like when he's on the stand, that was chilling. Like how he just turned like that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like if,
But no, but
you
that's
know,
interesting how he would get people on his side. First it was these two guys to go and kidnap and mutilate this dude in the desert based on completely made up numbers. I mean, and you really kind of really broke it down how they got to it, but they're still fucking morons for getting to it. There was never any proof that there was $1 million anywhere.
no. And I think that you hit the nail on the head in part one of the bonus is like, what was this guy? Just jealous? Did he want to bring this guy down like 1,000 pegs, I think is what you said.
Yeah.
And that literally is, I think, what the core of it is. Like he was jealous
But
because,
that wasn't Nairi though. It wasn't Nairi that was jealous of the guy. It was the other dude, right? Or was it Nairi?
Kyle, okay, so Kyle came back okay, so first of all,
Right.
Kyle and Nairi grew weed together.
Right. They were
And
partners.
you and I, let's say we're in it and we have the best crops in the world and we think that, man, we're gonna get a payday, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then he takes the weed that they've grown together and have a great pride in, and Michael's like, hey, I'm not gonna give you top dollar. I'll give
It's
you
like B
20
levels.
cents,
I'll buy it. Right. But it's B level
20,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, 20 cents on the dollar or whatever. He comes back and Nairi's like, wait a second, you know,
Yeah.
he's not getting his way. And then then Kyle goes on this Las Vegas trip and he comes back just gushing about all the money he has. And you can imagine he's got tons of cash. It's interesting how we use debit cards or credit cards for everything. So it takes that price point kind of out of it. Like when you use cash and you pile a big old pot, there's not, when a guy like or a woman pulls out a bill full, back in the day, that was kind of a big deal to pull out a bunch of cash,
Yeah.
like a big shot. So I think that although Michael was low key and he didn't do anything wrong and he earned his money fair and square, like he obviously went back and reported this, and that's like fueled Nair even more. Okay, yeah, not only did he diss me on the weed, but he's got all this cash. I should be, the jealousy comes into play. Why isn't that me? Well, I'm just, instead of earning it himself, I'm just going to steal it.
Yeah. And so the $1 million is a completely made up figure. He must have
Yes.
at least $1 million. So let's focus on that. And then we'll whip ourselves up into this frenzy that he has $1 million and he has it in cash. And it's got to be somewhere in his house or out there in the desert because we tracked him and he drove in circles in this one spot. So, okay, great. Just completely,
Mhm.
just confirmation bias, right? They want to believe
Oh,
it.
absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So they find a way to believe it, even though
Yeah,
it's all just pie in the sky bullshit. Okay.
totally.
Right. So then,
And one thing too, he could have said to get Kyle, although it seems like these friends were just his, lemmings from the very beginning, but he could have been like, let's do this. He's got $1 million. I know he's got a million,
right.
just to get their buy-in.
Yeah.
That's where a number, because like $1 million, that's a lot of money to say, yeah, it's worth doing, you
Sure.
know?
Sure. But the police case had kind of, I wouldn't say gone cold, but but they were kind of running out of leads.
They were absolutely running out of
Yeah.
leads because
Yeah.
nobody was talking.
And
Kyle wasn't
then
talking. The girlfriend wasn't talking, or the wife rather. You know, Nairi was out of the country.
Mary was in
The
Iran.
DNA on the zip tie, they had no idea who that was. He wasn't
Yeah.
the person wasn't in CODIS.
Yeah.
So then they hatched this plan. Like, hey, let's be unconventional. I mean, it's like, can you believe he called
The
the
dad.
guy's the dad?
Dad to
I mean,
dad,
it's
man.
like,
That'll get some shit done, right?
I mean, it's just, yeah, it worked, but it was surprising. It's surprising that,
I
I
tried
wish
to
that
do a dad. It's so funny. I tried to do a dad to dad thing the other day, and it blew up in my face. Completely blew up because I didn't get the dad on the phone. My daughter, my 12-year-old daughter was at the mall getting a birthday gift for a friend, and they were in the food court, and bought the gift. It was like $40. She had the bag. She left the bag on the table. Then she saw a friend of hers, two restaurants down at Chipotle, and she goes running up to see her. She comes back and the bag's gone. Okay. So she was gone for a few minutes. The bag's gone. It's all middle school kids at the mall. And so someone said, "Oh, I saw who had it. It was this kid, Jace." Okay. So I'm like, "All right." So I called Jace. And I'm like, "Hey, Jace, let me speak to your dad real quick." It's Delilah's father. And he goes, "No, man, no, no, no." I went, "Okay." And then, Lao Tzu in The Art of War, he said, "Build a golden bridge on which your enemies can escape." Okay.
Okay, Brandon, this is going to go sideways in a million
I
different
gave
ways.
this kid the out. I said, "Hey, Jace, I think there was a mix up at the mall." Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone grabbed my kid's bag and I was told that you're who I can talk to get to the bottom of it. Okay. I mean, how perfect is that?
I mean, I see what you're trying to
Right?
build
How
here.
perfect is that?
Okay.
For the kid to step up and go, "You know what, Mr. Morgan? Yeah, I'll be able to get you that stuff back, no problem." And I was like, I don't want anybody to get in trouble. I'm sure it was a mistake. Kids will be kids. There was a bunch of
But let
stuff
me
going on.
ask you a
Yeah.
question. How did your daughter feel about this?
She was like, "Yeah,
She wanted you to call.
absolutely. Yeah."
Okay, she is your progeny.
She has such an acute sense of justice. You would not believe it.
No, I do because so do my daughters. They're
Okay, okay,
freedom
okay.
fighters. So
And
absolutely. Yeah.
and then unfortunately, timing wasn't right, and he was with a few of his other friends. If I had gotten him alone, like in his bedroom or something, it would have worked out. I guarantee
Wait a
it.
second. Gotten the dad alone in his
No, 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 no.
bedroom?
The kid. I never talked to the dad. I was talking to the kid. If I had the kid by himself on the phone,
Okay,
I
you would
bet
not.
he would have
Okay.
played ball. But he had three or four of his friends in the background who were like egging him on. And so I said, "You know what? This was a
Oh.
mistake. I gotta hop off the phone. Sorry, I bothered you." Like, and
You
that
know
was it.
what?
Yeah,
That's such great restraint.
yeah, yeah. I
You
wanted
see
to
that,
threaten
right?
to rip his head off, but I
I
didn't.
I that's why I'm giving you kudos
Yeah,
because you saw
yeah,
that's like the last thing you need and it's like $40. But I
yeah.
had
I
the
know.
same thing happen on Saturday because
Mm,
it was similar,
yeah,
but it's a tangent, but I'll try to make it quick. I had left my kayak at the end of fall, because I kayak every day, and my husband was like, "Can you pull that out?" And I'm like, I didn't listen. Um, and it floated away. But I
mm,
knew that it was somewhere around on the lake and that I would get it, and it's just been too cold. So Saturday was like the perfect. So I'm going around, my son and I are going on trolling, and we find it. But I had to kind of go through the motions of like, okay, I got to walk around and I have to say, hey, this is my kayak. I was hoping that they would just give it over, but I had to kind of go through that role. I don't have a receipt to show. I have pictures and she was really cool about it. But like that could go either way, in those
yeah,
types of altercations. If you're dealing with someone who's a bad actor and they're like,
yeah.
prove it, I couldn't prove it. So it's just not really worth getting in a confrontation about,
Right.
depending on
See,
the
and
situation.
that's my regret here with this thing with the kid. As soon as his parent wasn't home, I probably should have gotten off the phone. You know,
Yeah.
as much as I loved my tactic, where they're like, "Hey, you're the cool kid," and I can talk. I shouldn't have done that to a 12-year-old kid. I shouldn't have. But I thought it might have worked. It
I
would have
mean,
worked for me when I was 12.
I think that, it, yeah, it sounds like the kid knew exactly what was going on and didn't really care that you were the dad calling. That doesn't have the same kind of prestige that it once had, maybe
Yeah.
like when you get a call from a parent's, a friend's dad, like, okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Morgan, like that kind of meant something. And I'm not saying it doesn't, but I don't
Right.
know. Clearly
Right.
it didn't work. So
No,
are you just gonna let it go now?
just let it go. Yeah, I guess
Good.
the what happened, we got more intel on the situation the next day was that that whatever it was like a
I swear to God,
plushie.
if this is in some kind of social media like
No,
chat group, I'm just gonna die.
it was a plushie. It was like a stuffed animal that my daughter was getting
No,
for
no,
her
no, I know,
friend.
but like bringing this story, like it's
Yeah,
on, next door, whatever, like,
yeah.
neighborhood thing. Anyway, go
No, no,
ahead.
no. So it was word got back that the plushie toy was removed from the bag. The bag was like ripped up, and there was just a bunch of lunatic 12-year-olds in the mall running around that were like using it as like a football and running
Oh, I
around
can
the mall with it.
totally see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
security chased them, and so the plushie wound up like confiscated by security and like thrown away. So yeah.
Hey, Criminal Mischief Nation. One great thing about having a big family is that if you're smart, you learn from your mistakes with your older kids. So when my youngest son, who's a tween, looks at my phone, it's so obvious he wants one of his own so desperately. Because a lot of his friends have them, and of course, he sees his older teenage siblings with theirs. But I know from experience from my older kids that getting a phone before they're ready isn't always what it's cracked up to be. In fact, 45% of teens say social media makes them feel sad and depressed. I don't want that for my tween, which is why I love Gab, because I could get him a phone without all the risk that comes with unfiltered access. Gab is the leader in safe phones and watches for kids, tweens, and teens. Because they don't come equipped with social media apps or an internet browser, but they do have GPS tracking. These devices are built specifically to keep kids safely connected. Gab phones have all the tech features kids actually want, like unlimited talk and text with Gab Messenger that also blocks out high-risk messages and content with nudity before ever reaching your child's phone in the first place. My son is 11 and has the Gab Phone 4 Pro, which has hundreds of screened third-party apps available to choose from. But mostly, I love it that he's happy and I'm ecstatic that I can reach him if I need to, and that peace of mind, well, as they say, it's truly priceless. Protecting your kids has never been easier. For the best deals, sign up to Gab today. No contract required at gab.com/mischief. That's Gab, GABB.com/mischief. One more time, gab.com/mischief. Terms and conditions apply.
But anyway, so going back to where we were, so dad to dad
Yes.
gets this girl to kind of to play ball, right? To admit that that this guy treated her really poorly and that she was maybe wanted out
Well, I think
and was
that
willing to.
when you know about, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but you know about coercive control. He had isolated her from her entire family. They
Yeah.
didn't even know she was married. And it sounds like they were paying for her law school and her lifestyle because they were affluent, but she didn't really have anything to do with them. And that was his, by design by Nairi. So I
Mhm.
think that coupled with all, and she probably wanted to get out of it, but just didn't know how. And she'd been dating him since she was 16 years old. So she'd been under his control for like 10 years.
Wow.
So then I think all that, it was a perfect storm where it's like, okay, not only I'm back with my parents, I'm in therapy, my attorney who is looking at me that's saying, hey, this is your only out. You're looking at spending the rest of your life in prison.
Yeah.
So a big motivator for going in there and that's the thing about that. If she had any hope of getting a reduced sentence or no sentence at all, she absolutely had to tell the truth, 100%. Like any lie and it nulls the agreement. And there's not even an agreement in place. They just will say, hey, when it comes time, we either won't prosecute or
Right.
we'll give you some kind of a reduced sentence for your cooperation, you know?
And how about this attorney that everybody was totally fanboying over?
I
The
know.
greatest man in the world.
Well, because have you ever had, I mean, I think that when you have an amazing mentor, and I know you've had in
Yeah.
conversations you've had really great mentors.
Yeah.
When you have someone like that makes such a huge, I mean, look at what he was able to do. Not only was he able to sweet talk Matt, who's like very shrewd and like, yeah, he's kind of a surfer guy, but he's highly intelligent. Like, I mean, he's a force in and of himself, right? But then
Yeah.
also these detectives. And
Yeah.
then so they got them to all play ball in this. I mean, that just shows how truly good he
Trustworthy.
trustworthy, and that at the end of the day, he had a relationship with them because he was a prosecutor for so long.
Yeah.
So it's like, going walking in, and yeah, he's a defense attorney, but they're not looking at him the same way that as they would look at just, Joe Blow, a defense attorney that's walking in off the street, you know?
Yeah. 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 So they get her involved in this really kind of high stakes, long play, like trap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Multinational. They thought it
Yeah.
was going to be Spain, but I guess Western Europe doesn't give a fuck about our legal system. You got to go to like the former Soviet
Frog.
fucking
Yeah.
Union, right? Like they know what they're doing. So they got to meet him in the Czech Republic.
Yeah. Yeah. And he almost didn't make the flight because he overslept.
Yeah, but they
Because they
get
were
him.
going through that whole, they did get him up, yeah,
Yeah,
but when they were waiting for him to get on the plane, everybody's kind of on pins and needles, including Courtney, because it's like she she needs to set this up and have it come through, so that is another like kind of good marker for her that
yeah,
she didn't tip
yeah,
him
yeah.
off. So
She's got
she's,
to. She
yeah.
needs to
So when
deliver.
she needs to deliver. So when he wasn't showing up at the airport and she's calling him and he's not answering, and as it turned out, he just overslept. And so he had to race. He drove himself to the airport. He almost didn't make that flight. I'm sure he's like kicking himself. Like, but I mean,
Well,
that happened again when he escaped, and all he had to do was go to Mexico and to the, and he goes south and he goes to just San Francisco,
Yep.
you know?
Well, because he got on the plane because she had 20 grand in cash for him that he probably needed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And wanted to see her, I'm
And
sure.
wanted to see her too. Yeah.
So they get him. He gets in jail, and then he shows that Bodie Riz all over again, where he gets two guys on his side, and they escape from Alcatraz. That bitch, right?
Cody Riz. Oh my gosh.
And they escape. They use a sheet ladder and then the same sheets to rappel down the thing. I mean,
You
that's
have got to see this video. It's crazy. He saws the grate out just exactly from like Alcatraz. Remember in the movie where
yeah, of
they like
course.
do that? Okay, so he gets that big enough for him to shimmy through, and then he goes in the innards of the prison, and then the kind of rope that they made, the ladder was just genius, and he's filming the entire thing. Like once he goes under there, he turns around and he goes like this in the camera, and he's filming it with his own phone. And it's like the arrogance of this guy, but he also has this, like you said, Bodie Riz, that is like you can't, you kind of are like, this is epic. I mean,
Yeah.
and he looks like he's having so much fun, and the conditions of like the fact that nobody turned him in, like none of these like prisoners like said, hey, let me make a deal. I know this guy is like sawing through all this stuff. I mean, that's currency, and
Yeah.
nobody turned them in.
Jesus. So he escapes.
Hmm.
And how did they recapture him?
So basically, what happened is that once they escaped, and this is a crazy story in and of itself, which I just didn't have time for, but they kidnap a taxi cab driver. They call for a taxi cab driver, then they kidnap him, and he's this old guy, and they basically make him go on this sojourn with him. They steal a van, and like two of them are driving the van, and then the taxi cab driver and the other guy is they're they're kind of like caravanning, right? And
Yeah.
so and along the way, their relationship kind of, as one would imagine, first one of the escapees was so into Nairi that he literally video cameraed him putting out a cigarette on his arm to show his loyalty to Nairi. I mean, it was just insane. And then by the end of it, according to this prisoner, this escapee, Nairi wanted to kill the taxi cab driver because they were kind of stuck with him. That's why they kept making him come along with them, because it's like the second they let him out of their sight, I mean, of course, he's going to go to the police and let them know what's going on, right? So apparently, the one of the escapees and the taxi cab driver, they took off because the other guy didn't want to be with Nairi, and then they ended up just getting busted, and they were just smoking pot and drinking
Oh,
like
in
a
the
fifth of
van, right?
Jack
They got him in the
in the
van.
van.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So then we go to trial.
Yep.
Um, and that Riz was on display. Like he was starting to win people over.
He was.
Yeah. But
He
then
absolutely was.
prosecution comes in and they kind of bury the
I
guy.
mean, talk about ego. Here he thought that he was going to go up against, Matt Murphy has I think he's lost two cases in all of his entire career, and those were early cases. I mean, to think that you could actually best him is just, it basically lost his chance of getting any kind of,
Yeah. But Murphy
getting out
wanted
of
him.
it.
Murphy really wanted him as the cutter, and he didn't get him for it. He
He,
really
he,
wanted him for that.
he did. He
Yeah.
did. Well, yeah,
But he,
because like
of
he had
course.
developed a relationship with Michael.
Yeah.
He,
But he still
he
got life without parole, right?
he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's away forever. He's never getting out.
He's away forever. Yeah, he's away forever.
And where is he? Do you know? Is he at like a Supermax or something, I hope?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure. And that was another thing. He was able to sweet talk himself into a m- minimum security, like open, like area.
Right,
And
like a dormitory.
right. And
Right, like he's at summer camp,
yeah.
right?
And I think that, like, when I was reading Matt's book, he went into it, and I kind of forget all of the details, but it sounds like he was able to sweet talk like a nurse or something like that. And
Bodie
I'm not
Riz,
sure.
baby. Wow.
I know. And imagine if he would have just like used that for
Been a
just good,
politician,
you know?
right?
Absolutely. But that anger, that anger and that jealousy.
And sense of entitlement and ego and all that, that would have eventually buried him, I'm sure, because that's what got him. But and also that real, let's be honest, moral failing to be able to find it in you to torture another human being for money.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's rare in the human condition that someone's able to do that. A lot of people would, unless like we talked about, unless it's like, all right, you have my kid and there's a clock on this and I'm going to cut you until you tell me, like, of course. But if it's just like for some money that your imagination tells you exists somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
that's a very rare.
But you know what? I think it
Mm.
went beyond that when I think he spent like 9 months surveilling this guy,
Yeah.
right? So he's getting more and more and more manic and
Yeah.
obsessed. He's not, he's probably not doing anything with his wife, and he's not doing and growing any weed anymore. And it just becomes this massive. So and then he's got these friends who he's roped them into this. So there's a lot at stake. His manhood is at stake.
Yeah.
His literal, like, in the sense of how he obviously thinks of it, because he's not delivering on anything that he said. This kid doesn't have the money, and this is the ultimate, like, I'm not getting what I want. I'm so angry and frustrated, and I'm gonna just do this horrific thing to you, you know? But I've always said, jealousy it's like really scary.
Mm.
It is the most, like, really scary thing. If you have someone jealous or envious of you, look out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You a jealous person?
What do you think?
I think you are.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think you are. Like, I don't know if you're going to go pull someone's hair and punch a girl in the face if she buys your husband a drink at a bar. I don't know if you're that kind of jealous. You might
Hmm.
be. You might be.
Okay,
Um,
that's what you see me, my jealousy taking
no,
shape.
no, no, no. I said I don't think you're that level of jealousy, but I
Okay.
think, you might, hold his feet to the fire when you get home. Like, oh, really? Oh, really? You let her buy you a drink? Oh, really? Okay. No, okay, great. Yeah, great, great. Maybe that kind of
Uh,
jealousy.
I I definitely think I have a healthy dose of jealousy, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I think that if you are not jealous whatsoever, you're just,
Mm.
and I'm sure people are going to think I sound insane, but you're not. I mean, that's just a human emotion that we feel. It's just kind of where we're at, if we want to take it to another level, or if we just channel it into something else.
I was the jealous type. And again,
Oh,
there's different,
Brandon, you are
no, no,
totally
no,
the
there's
jealous
different
type.
avenues for jealousy. I've
Okay.
never been
Okay.
jealous of like people who are richer than me or a nicer car than me. Like I never
Yeah.
really gave a shit about that. But
Yeah.
but I was always a little, I guess territorial.
Hmm.
You know, when I was dating, I was just but I know what it was from, and I worked it out in therapy. I worked it
Hmm.
all out because in my late teens, early 20s, um, I had a very casual relationship with monogamy. Okay, and so and so
Were
um,
you a playa? Were you a Bodie with Riz?
so what I found out was that
Brandon with Riz.
what I found out was that uh, if I would do it to someone, I was instantly afraid that they would do it to me. And that's where my
Mm-hmm.
jealousy came from. So as soon as I cleaned up my act and started being the type of man that I really should have been the whole time, that
Hmm.
jealousy part of me went away.
Hmm.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
I think that same in the sense that I'm not jealous of other of material possessions or things like that, unless, I always like for me, it feels better to earn it, whatever it is, than to just like what I would want
Yeah.
to earn it myself. So
Sure. Sure.
I would be hard on myself. It wouldn't manifest itself into jealousy. It would be me
Yeah.
being hard on myself. But I think for me, I've linked jealousy with loyalty. Like I like people to be loyal to me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think that um so I think anybody's capable of anything depending on what the situation is.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
I think that with jealousy, that's what's so scary about it. Because somebody could be just this regular person, like going along doing their thing, and for whatever they get hooked up with someone, and it just changes their entire personality, and they just become this like jealous stalker or something, you know? I think that that can happen.
When I was 16 or 17, I worked at the mall. I had like four jobs because I was saving
Mhm.
money because I wanted to leave New Jersey. And like I worked these loading docks in the morning before school, and then I worked at the mall, and then I delivered pizzas at night. And then, I mean, it was crazy. But my job at the mall, uh, I worked at Spencer Gifts. Did you have Spencer
Oh
Gifts?
my gosh. Oh my God.
I
This is where
worked
your love of trinkets came into play.
I worked retail. Oh, I had a lot of fun. I worked with some really cool guys. But just outside of Spencer's in the mall was this little kind of archipelago of kiosks, right?
Hmm.
Like one
Hmm.
sold like candles and one sold like it was an engraving store and one sold like custom t-shirts, like whatever. Okay.
Hmm.
And there was just a girl who worked at the candle place, okay? Um Nice, but
Hmm.
not like she's awesome. She didn't have like the big Jersey hair that everybody liked back then. Very plain, very
Hmm.
nice, but a very plain,
Hmm.
unremarkable, teenager.
Hmm.
She dated a guy who who put her on a pedestal like she was Helen of Troy. Okay.
Hmm.
In a very dangerous, uh, toxic way.
Yeah.
She would work an 8-hour shift and he would just walk in circles around the kiosk the
Oh,
entire
that's
eight
scary.
hours. The
Yeah, that's scary.
entire 8 hours.
Yeah.
And with his arms out and his chest up, like he was all
Hmm.
like he was all tough. And
Hmm.
and any guy who went up to buy something, he would come up and like lean on the counter right next to him, make sure he didn't say anything,
I
and
just
then
have
back
to
off.
stop for a second. I hope that that this wasn't the thing that encouraged you to try to go after her.
No, 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 no. I don't think I ever spoke to her
Okay, good.
because I didn't want to get pummeled by this
I know,
jealous
but
lunatic.
some guys would take that as a challenge of like, oh
No,
yeah.
we would sit there and all of the stores that had a line of sight of this candle shop would just make fun of this guy. We'd go to the food court and we'd eat our Sbarro pizza and we would make fun of this guy
Hmm.
like for our entire lunch break. It was a sickness and we were if I was a little older, I might have like called the cops because she was obviously in some kind of a bad relationship. You know what I mean? Like, but
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But
I mean,
anyway,
that's not putting someone on a pedestal. That's control.
total
Total
control,
control.
and uber jealousy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. That get even kind of
yeah,
mentality.
yeah,
That's really scary.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have that kind of riz where I could. I don't know if I could have pulled that one off. I didn't have the confidence. I was 16.
Really? That
I was
surprises
16.
me.
I was 16.
I know, but the way you were setting up the story, you know,
no, 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 no.
let's just say that sometimes there's a game to be played.
I didn't have a
It's
girlfriend till I was 17. I didn't have a girlfriend till my junior year in high school. So I mean, that's the
okay, so
fact
you
of
were
the matter.
still a little dork at Spencer.
I
Okay.
was still a skate nerd.
Okay, let me just yeah, okay, now I see. You were you this was a spectator sport for you.
Total absolute spectator sport. I'm like, I know I don't want to be like that guy. I know that much. Okay.
Well, was he good looking?
No, no. You know,
Oh.
he had the business mullet, you know, like
Well, it must have been really, really boring at the mall. It's small. Are you talking about party in the back, business up front? Is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
but a little nicer up front. It was shorter and like like where if you got rid of the back, like he could have been on Wall Street,
I
right?
know
But
that's a mullet.
yeah, but then there's like the dirty mullets where it's like kind of feathered and it's a little longer and then it goes down. Right. Yeah. This was a business mullet. So he probably had a job somewhere, is what I'm saying.
I was picturing wearing those like poofy kind of like, I used to work at a gym when I was like 17, like a
Yeah.
health club, and the
Yeah.
guys would wear those like and girls were I was wearing them too. They were like those like crazy poofy pants that were like multicolored.
Cavaricis?
Probably. I can't remember the
Cavaricis. He would sometimes wear Cavaricis, but he also dressed like straight out of Jersey with just, like acid wash jeans and like a flannel shirt and like combat boots, um,
Oh.
just
Oh.
like normal like boots, just like normal
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
grunge
You know
dress.
what's interesting is that how our memories, like this one instance, you still remember it so clearly, and you never
Yeah,
even talked to these people.
because it was
And
the
it made
first
such
time
a
but it was the first time that I had seen such extreme behavior from somebody.
yeah,
Right? So that it
yeah,
stood out. Like the first time I saw a fight on the subway, I'm like, oh shit, okay, that's kind of
yeah,
weird, right? And it's
yeah,
the first time I saw this, like the guy couldn't control it,
yeah, yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
what's got to be going on in his head, you know?
yeah.
And so you build up all of this whole like kind of psych profile, right? I'm like, well,
Hmm.
she's not like that hot, but that's okay. I mean, love is love, and that's fine. Springsteen saying you're not a beauty, but hey, you're all right, and that's all right with me. So I get it. I wasn't judging him for that. But I
Hmm.
was like,
So okay, that's great. Okay.
has she cheated on him before? Like, ooh,
Hmm.
that's something. And he like forgave her and got back together, but doesn't
Yeah, like
trust.
what is this dynamic? Why is he doing
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was really interesting. It was really interesting. But anyway, so well, look, wrap this up because I got to get out of here. But
I gotta get out of here.
so of the three
Yeah.
perps here, did they all
Yeah.
get L-whopped or not really?
No, I think because Ryan flipped and said,
Right.
yes, Nairi, he was, he was the one that did the sexual mutilation, but they didn't want to use him on the stand. So he got 12 years
Okay.
and the other two got life. And but look at that Kyle. He just didn't talk. And it's like he could have made a deal and would be out.
What does he think? Does he think he's gonna get like some reward like that they give mafia guys when they keep their
I
mouth shut and
mean,
do
I
25?
don't know.
I,
Isn't
I
it crazy? It's
does
like
he think
scary how when you
weird? Does Nairi have something on him? Like if you talk, I'm gonna kill your family kind of thing. I don't
well,
know.
and Nairi tried to pin the whole entire thing on him. He was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, hey, he was just paying me to be a surveillance guy. I didn't have anything to do with it." So, Kyle really made a mistake there. You know,
Jeez. All right. Well, listen, great episode. Great two-parter. As much as I always get upset when I realize at the end of part one that it's a two-parter, I always love the two-parter. So if you enjoyed this, Nation, please share this with someone who you think would enjoy it as well. Head over to Apple and rate and review the show. It helps more than you know. And please, when you hear Carolyn talking about a product, it's coming from the heart. We're not just doing it, but we couldn't do the show without those ads. So consider supporting those great companies. And check us out on YouTube. Carolyn, anything you'd like to add?
nope. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe out there.
Bye.
From Cloud 10, Criminal Mischief is a pie in the sky production recorded in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself, music by Soundstripe. I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.